Okay. We'll bring the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll begin with roll call. Bowman here. Report.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
Frazier.
Here.
Oddie.
Here.
Rush.
Here.
Honey.
Here.
Okay, we'll move on. Approve agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mr. Bowman, if I may, please, was there not an agenda item to add for Ventura?
We are not doing that now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Pardon me, Rob?
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, thank you. And if I,
What's the agenda item for the, what's the agenda item for this year?
There's no agenda item. It's
Are you
just,
gonna talk about that now?
that's what we're gonna be.
Okay, I'm sorry, go right ahead, yeah, I'm sorry, Bart, cheers.
Okay. We'll move on to review donation form. Art?
Yeah, so, Board, what we have here is a donation form that was prepared, I believe, by our finance director. What this is for being able to solicit donations from either businesses or individuals for use for like things up like the senior center or Parks and Rec is where it was brought up at. So this is a generic fill-in-the-blank form. It's also a thank you from the board to whoever makes the donation. There was a separate point of interest that we've been working on, like a different tiered level of people that donate, or whether they're like bronze, silver, gold. This is brought up at Parks and Rec. Mr. Rush may have more to shine on that, but this is just maybe a draft for the board to consider as far as a donation. Just as, we're grateful for your generous donation of the amount of money, fill in the blank, on this date. This letter is to officially acknowledge the receipt of this donation, which will directly support our community of Sumpter Township. So we just want to show our appreciation and thanks to those that would be able to donate.
Thank you,
Chair.
Bud.
Chair, if I could add to that, I would suggest as we review this that we actually come up with the specific accounts that we have in the general fund that donations can be accepted to. Otherwise, we would be creating an account every time somebody, put a donation and they put what they thought it was going to. Now we gotta get clarification on what they meant. I think if we had, like the senior center, Parks and Rec, community center, whatever the areas that we wanna have on there are where they could circle it and say it's going to the community center, or it's going to the senior center,
That'd be a
or
great
Parks and
idea.
Rec. They could, a checkbox, they could check it off and say that's where it's
It's a good
going.
idea, Matt.
Otherwise, we would be looking at having to create, general fund accounts for everything that somebody wants to donate to.
Sure, if I may too. So
Great
in
idea.
addition to that, there's an envelope that is going to be worked on too, where that envelope would have that, the donator, who they are, what it goes to, for what event. So that's still being worked on. This was just something that was just
Yep.
prepared for, again, consideration, not necessarily to vote on tonight or
Yep.
anything like that.
No, I think it's a great idea, so that, these things can be passed out to the businesses, different people, and then they can, check off where they want their donation to go to.
Yep.
That'd be a great idea. Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Bowman, if I may, please, we have Mr. Sean Wall here with us with PFM. Rob, would you like to give him a bit of an introduction and talk about what this young man's going to speak to?
Well, this is the first time I've had the opportunity to meet Mr. Wall, but his partner in crime, Carrie Blanchett, I've probably known for 40 years off and on. I knew her when she was first a secretary in a law firm that I first started working at, so she and I go back a long way. And next door was a company called Benzinski and Company, which was a financial consultant regarding bonds and how to raise money for municipalities. She found her way out of the law office and into Benzinski and Company, and she's been with other firms doing that work ever since. So she has been working with us historically with Paul Stauder, who's since retired. You guys might remember that name. Paul had been involved in all of our sewer bonds and water lines, and I think he was even involved in the fire station building aspect of the improvements in the township. So he's been around for a long time, but he's since retired. And Carrie Blanchett has been involved also with all of those sewer bonds that I talked about and another matter. She can't be here tonight from what I understand, but Sean has been assigned to this project and he's here, and we asked him to come in and give us a few minutes. Don't take forever. We got a lot of issues tonight, Sean. And see how much time I'm taking up talking here. So don't do as I do as I say, right?
I'm sure
So,
everybody
what-
came, to hear about municipal bonds and how excited.
Yeah,
it is.
at least you understand the process, so please give us your,
Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Sorry again, my name is Sean Wall. I'm with PFM Financial Advisors. As he mentioned, our firm has worked with the township for over a decade, if not longer, on all the recent bond issues, I believe in 2014, 2016, as well as a variety of other projects over the years between Paul Stouter, Carrie Blanchett, and now myself. So thank you again for having me tonight. Our firm is a financial advisory firm, as he alluded to. So we work with municipalities, school districts, K-12s, higher ed institutions, airports, things of that nature, to finance debt and issue debt to finance capital projects. So rather than issuing a mortgage and a lien on a building, municipalities can't do that. They work with us to figure out a way in which to raise capital for buildings or water and sewer projects. So that's our firm. We're the largest financial advisory firm in the nation. We are the largest in Michigan. We have over 11 advisors. Carrie Blanchett being the one who started our office in 2004. But we have 11 advisors in Michigan, 16 folks that work on our transactions. So again, happy to be here. What we really do is we take from kind of start to finish the financial issuance process. So starting from the initial part of doing the feasibility studies, working with the township to find out affordability, rate suitability, things like that, all the way through and including execution, selling bonds. And then, as you may know, we continue to work with the township on post-issuance compliance, annual filings to Emma in the municipal bond world. So all in all, kind of a soup to nuts shop of really everything municipal bond and financial advisory in Michigan. So, I could probably talk all day about municipal bonds. I'm sure you all showed up for that, but I'm happy to answer any questions or go into further detail on anything you all would like to hear.
Sure, if I could ask a question. Mr. Wall, is there a minimum amount that you generally see come through with bonds or that is recommended?
Yeah, so, in order to do a public issuance or, to issue and sell competitively, purchasers want to see $1 million or more. If the financing is less than that, there's options. You can certainly do more of a private placement. But, credit rating, kind of access to the capital markets is generally $1 million or more.
Okay, and I know, and you might be reviewing what we've already kind of discussed, but we're looking at $3.5 million initial investment in a water line that has been failing on us.
Right.
And we're also looking at other locations that are aging out at 50 years. And is there a step process that can be done? Let's say we know we're going to have these projects that are going to be this one's going to be done in 5 months, this one's going to be done in 8 months and 12 months, where it can be phased over a 12-month period, a known period, as opposed to going out for bonds every time we need to get to the next phase of our replacement.
Yeah, oftentimes issuers will issue in series, as we call it, right? So you issue a first series to get the project started, and then once those funds are expended or plan to be expended, then you come back and you issue more. The kind of benefit of that is not paying interest on debt that you haven't issued, right? So rather than say borrowing $10 million up front, you issue $3 million, you pay interest only on that $3 million, and then you continue to issue debt over that time. So there is some interest cost savings there. It is helpful, up front to know the kind of total capital expected, and then understanding when certain projects will come online kind of better informs that. But we do it all the time, and probably would advise that is a good strategy.
Yep. And if I remember correctly, it was 4 to 6 months from the time that we get an engineered drawing plan on what the costs are and the bids, coming in, it would still be 4 to 6 months from that time to kind of get the bonds, in condition to be ready to be sold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about a few different methods, but, either way, you would very likely have to do a notice of intent period, which is a 45-day referendum, which you would publish, for anybody to, state or object to the financing process. And then from there, it's probably at least another 6 to 8 weeks after that. So, anywhere probably on the tightest end, 3.5 months to, 6 months. But, we can work around that and kind of find the right timing.
Perfect, thank you for
Chair?
refreshing my memory.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, speaking of interest, I got a two-part question here. What is the typical interest rate on that, and what is the typical term?
Yeah.
Let's stick with the project we're talking about, the 3.5 million for the infrastructure, the water line.
Yeah, no, in terms of bond term, it really depends on affordability, right? A longer bond term is going to be able to give you more affordable payments and spread those payments, out over a longer period of time. Any $3.5 million, it depends on, you can do probably 30 to 40 years if you really wanted to. But, that also should match the useful life of the asset. So, you don't want to finance something that's
Right.
going to be out in 15 years over 30 years. So I think pairing those two, together well, and kind of fitting that into the rate structure for the township is probably the best way to do it. In terms of municipal bond rates right now, for a 30-year transaction, the township's got a great credit quality, I believe AA minus with S&P Global. So, something like that, 30 years is probably like 475 with a little bit of buffer. 25 years is probably 4.5. 20 years is, they're tax exempt too. So, 20 years is probably 4.25, and then working your way down. So we've seen really good, outside of early April where we had a lot of volatility and almost an illiquid market. The market has kind of regained its footing and is functional again, and we've been seeing good interest from investors. So.
Yeah, and one last quick question. Let's say God bless Sumpter Township and we got some kind of a grant or something, because we're always hunting for those too.
Right.
Could we take something like that and pay down that bond to get rid of it earlier?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. If we knew the grant was up front, we would probably structure the repayment period or the repayment amortization to take that into account to pay it back more quickly. But municipal bonds, if they're issued, generally have a 10-year optional redemption period. So unlike a mortgage where you can get the money and pay it off right away, usually the market bakes in a 10-year period where those bonds, investors don't expect those bonds to be called back. So usually it's about a 10-year period until you can refinance that. There's a few minor adjustments that you can make to maybe make that shorter to 7 or 8 years, which we often do. But anything shorter than that is going to just cost you, because investors want to know what their money's doing and kind of that reinvestment risk. So 10 years is kind of the standard. You could probably get it to about 7, so something like that.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Tim.
Just one thing if I can. And Sean, thank you for that information. In last meeting, we asked our engineers to start working on the survey and the engineering plans and the like, just to get that started. So you can work concurrently with them in terms of you getting your information together, determining what is the best course of action for the township, what bond or what borrowing mechanism would be the best way to go, while all of this is moving forward. And as Trustee Adi said, once we pull that all together, when we pull the trigger, it might take another 4 to 6 months, whatever it happens to be, before we can actually issue the bonds and draw down on the funds. But all this will be moving as forward and as fast as we can, at least reasonably as fast as we can, as far as you guys see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the first step is that, understanding kind of the total project scope and getting that dollar amount, and then having a notice of intent resolution, passed by council, which starts that 45-day period. And then usually bond counsel will like to have a good idea of the bids, or just have the bids received, and then you pass what is called a bond authorizing resolution. And from there, it's maybe another 4 to 6 weeks till you can have the bonds, probably closer to the 6-week part. But there's a few steps in that, but as you said, getting that rolling is not hard to do.
And one last thing, whatever you need, your office needs, you will make that request, and then we'll provide you with that information, because I know it's information-driven on all of this, so.
Yep, absolutely, and, lucky for us, we do work with the township annually to get the annual disclosure information, so hopefully a lot of that will just be
Good.
updating, for this year's information. So,
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
Any more questions?
I'm all set.
all right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to public comment. First up,
Chair.
Camelia Toth.
Chair, before we get to that, I see it's a pretty full list there. Do we want to remind the audience on, proper protocol for our public comment that?
3 minutes.
Not only 3 minutes, but we do not want to have any back and forth between the speaker and the public. The comments are to the board. We don't want to have it turn into a melee or shouting matches or opinions being thrown around.
Absolutely.
So,
We won't do that.
okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, first up, Camelia Toth.
Can I be last? Is that okay?
The first shall be last, is that what you want?
No, I just. I
Can you
ask
what?
somebody else
She wants to know if
before
she can
me?
be last. If she could come, you could call her at
Just
the
come
end.
back to her.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chair, you had a question about getting a name on the list.
Pardon me?
Can I get my name on the list?
Absolutely. What is it?
Kay Harris? Kay Harris.
Kate Harris?
K.
K,
K?
K-A-Y.
Excuse me, I'm hard of hearing, can't see out of the other ear.
What?
Chair?
Harris?
Yes. Chair, if I could also remind everybody that we need you to stand up and come over to the podium to speak so that we can hear. That way the audience at home can hear. Speaking from the audience sometimes does not get the audio on the tape.
Ms. Harris, what's your address?
26025 Sumpter Road.
26015.
260.
260.
I do, Mr. Memory.
25.
260.
Like Sumpter Road?
Sumpter Road?
Okay. So Camelia is not coming up?
She said she's gonna be last. She asked if she could be last, so that's.
Oh,
good.
she wants to be
So you'll have
last,
to
okay.
go to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Ed Memer?
Okay. I'm here in behalf of Sammy. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I'm just here as a character witness. I've done a lot of business with Sam through the years. He's always been straight as an arrow with me and me with him, and I'm just here to volunteer my expectations of him, that whatever it is he's doing, I'm not positive, but I know it'll be great.
Thank you, Mr. Ed.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Any questions?
How you been doing, Mr. Memory?
Yeah,
Any better and have to take something for it.
It's good to see you.
good to see you.
You guys
Ed.
too.
Yeah.
First time I've been here, but it won't be the last. I like what I see.
Yeah.
Good.
Can I
Thank you
go
very
now?
much, Ed.
Dismissed, right?
All right. I'm gonna go home and have Budweiser. See you later.
Okay, Jim Hughes? Jim?
Oh, that. Oh,
You, yeah.
for a minute there, I was wondering what I'm doing here.
Jim, if it's better off, you can speak from right there.
Sammy here, from Sammy's Auto, he's, thinking about building a tire sewer and stuff down here in Sumpter. All right, there's nothing out here. Nothing at all for the citizens to go to, water in their car. I think it'd be a real good idea if bringing revenue to the township and we need more businesses here in this township. I've been here close to 40 years in business, and it's been excellent. And it was also for the people, the citizens, the customers themselves, the residents. They need somewhere to go to get something done, especially this end of Sumpter. I mean, this is Hooterville out here, there's nothing, so.
I agree.
I think it would be a good idea for the township and the people and the revenue that they bring into the township to allow this to be. That's all I meant to say.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Yalavet Mills? What, pardon me?
Yavetta.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Yvetta Mills. I'm on behalf of Sammy as well, with the tire detail shop. It'll be nice to have something in the area to go to get my tires replaced. And now I usually have to go to Romulus or other neighboring cities just to get a tire replacement, and then even with that, I have to call the tow truck driver to get me there. And I just met Sammy a few days ago, and he's been really, about a week or so ago, he's been really nice. He helped me get my car on the road in 2 days. I had 4 different people look at my car, and Sammy came to the house. Didn't have to pay a tow truck driver to get me there. He came to my house. He couldn't fix it there. He wanted to take it in the shop. Took it in the shop. Had me on the road in less than 4 hours. And just been a good guy ever since. Always had nice communication with him. Good guy. And I'm just here to support.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you. Tory Mills, third.
I'm also here representing Sammy. He's been a great help to help my mom out with her car. And I really like cars. I've been working on cars with my dad for a little bit. And it's like nice to see someone out here that's actually like helping with cars instead of, like my mom said, having to go to a neighbor city to at least get like a tire replacement or something like that. There's been a lot of, like she said, a lot of people down to the house. Not a lot of people to help us out with what we were looking for. But when we took the car to Sammy, he had us on the road, like she said, within a couple days, and I really appreciate him for that. And it'd be nice to, like she said, have somewhere out here that we can go to get like something done with the car. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Can you read that down?
Don't butcher it, Mr. Bone.
How you doing, bud?
Good, how are you?
Great.
My name is Ovidio Sucho, I live right here in Sumpter on Clay Road. 2 things. I heard it's a plan in place from the Wayne County that they're planning cleaning 17 miles of the Swan Creek. Had a few engineers came on Cosma and they're looking at it, measure it. Do you guys know anything about it? Is it gonna be going on soon or something?
What?
Chair, if I may. So, I showed up as a resident, just, full disclosure. So I actually called up, because I think that it was like 9 a.m. to whatever the case, like last week. So I just showed up, I thought as a resident, just because I'm part of the North Branch drain thing and all that, assessed on taxes. So I showed up, and then I was informed that Wayne County, they canceled the meeting, maybe a week or 2 prior, which was kind of like why'd they cancel the meeting? like why they reserved the gymnasium and then they canceled the meeting. Like, so where's the public hearing? Where's the discussion? What are we doing? So I just called, like, well, now I'm gonna put the treasurer hat on. I'm calling as elected official, like, what's going on here? Because I probably met 2 or 3 other residents here. They're asking the same thing, like, what was going on with this discussion? It was supposed to be for the public. And I said, you put out a mailer, we got it. Did you get a notification by mail? How'd you find out?
No, I didn't. Actually, I own the end house on Casma, on 44399.
Did they get a notification by mail?
There were 3 engineers coming out.
Okay.
One of them got scared to drive to the woods
Right.
because it's another river to cross on the other end. And he's like, I ain't going there. I'm like,
Yeah.
why not? I'll walk with you, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't want to.
The reason I'm asking about how you got notification was because I thought that I got by mail. I wasn't sure how I got it. I just put it in my calendar. It was just a personal calendar, it wasn't a work calendar or anything like that. So when they weren't here, they don't have an answer. They're like, we don't know how you got communicated or how it was relayed to you as a resident that this was going on, but we canceled that. I'm like, why'd you cancel it? What's going on? Where's the discussion? How are we gonna inform the public? I don't know, Mr. Patterson, we'll get back to you on this. So
And that was
I have a reminder actually today. I would have followed back up today by personal reasons. I was in the hospital with my mom, so I couldn't follow back up, but so I'll be following up tomorrow to try to find out what's going on. Where's the answer? Like, why weren't we informed as a community?
I mean, I would like to know because, you know, it's that bridge and nobody can cross. I mean, at least a big, heavy machinery, you cannot cross.
Yeah, I know very little. That's as much as I know, so.
All right, so that was the one thing, and the second one that is, we're here to support Sammy with the, I believe it's 24235 Sumpter Road. Just had a trailer blow up 2 tires down the Sumpter Road close to Oakville Watson. Same thing, nobody would have come and helped me. Towing didn't show up, the only thing was Sammy, they will come up, so I'm here to also support his project over there. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Mammoth.
Use keeper, he had emergency, had to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then
Okay.
Kay Harris.
Hello. I am not here to support Sammy. I live next door, and my view is of a junkyard. And my fear is lithium batteries and gas fumes. I am afraid that we will turn into a California wildfire because every house on Sumpter is backed up by woods. Once the swamp dries, it is kindled. And on a windy day, it could be disastrous.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Are you talking about the current building Sam is working in?
Yep.
Well, this is not what this is about.
This is not, everybody else is talking about it.
No, this is not what this is about.
This is about address 24235.
So this is something completely.
Isn't that the
entirely-
Sumpter Road junkyard?
No, this is not what this is about.
Chair,
Yeah.
if I could,
Trustee Audi.
you were at the planning commission meeting, that item regarding the old Chapman's is not on the agenda tonight. What's on the agenda tonight is the rezoning of the property.
Oh, this
which
is about
north
Mount
of-
Hummer.
Yes.
Oh, that would stick out like a sore thumb as far as I'm concerned. It's still residential. So move down into Belleville where all the businesses are, not in everybody's backyard. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll be back.
Kamala Toth?
Yep.
Trying to get that one. I want to grab that finger one of these days.
My name is Camelia Toth, no relation to the young man. although I do have a funny story, but I probably won't share it tonight. I'm here to support Sammy. I, for one, even though I live on Sumpter, know what a hassle it is to get a ride all the way to Belle Tire and even Quick Lane into town, and then waiting for somebody to bring me all the way back and waiting 3 hours for my car to be done, and then finding a ride back. Having something local, even if it's residential, I support it. It brings revenue to the township, and whether you're a young person, a senior citizen, having something in your backyard, as long as it's upkept and the flow of the city and the cleanliness, I completely support it. I hope you guys all have a nice night.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. Minutes. A, approve the regular board meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Approve warrants, $181,019.74.
So moved with a roll call vote.
Support?
Okay. Bowman? Yes. Laporte?
Yes.
Patterson?
Yes.
Frazier?
Yes.
Adi?
Yes.
Rush?
Yes.
Honey?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, finance report, Jay Campbell.
Thank you, board. Hi, board.
Hello.
Hi, community.
Hello.
Hi, township representatives. I want to start by saying this is my first report, so
We know
if
that.
you have any suggestions or, want to see more or less of something, just let me know. I just want to fulfill your expectations. So the first thing I have for you is the attached royalties report. And the only royalty that we had to date received in this fiscal year is April's $184,626. And as you can see, in comparison to last year's April royalties payment, that's an increase of $1,154 or 0.06%. If you want to know anything more about that, just let me know. The other thing I wanted to, or the next thing I wanted to just speak on very briefly is allowable and unallowable expenses. This has been coming up a lot lately since in the 5 or 6 weeks that I've been here. So I just want to run through a list of some commonly asked allowables and unallawables. So first of all, things that are unallowable for us to spend township money on are charitable donations to nonprofit organizations. We can't donate to private ambulance or EMS services. We can't spend public money on like a picnic or any other celebration that's not authorized specifically by law and doesn't serve a public purpose. Providing coffee, food, etc. is prohibited unless it is open to the general public for a township business reason. Unallowable is retirement or recognition functions or expenditures for employees. Legal expenses to assist residents of our township are not allowed. Private road work is not allowed. That's the responsibility of the people who live on that road. Per diem payments to trustees or elected officials when they're on a salary basis, and flowers or gifts to like sick or departed people, whether they're residents or employees of the township. So some of the things that we can spend our public money on are specifically celebrations for Veterans Day, Independence Day, Memorial Day, and then centennial celebrations. We can spend township money on historical activities that are board approved ahead of time. We can spend money on youth centers for juvenile delinquents to curb delinquency in our community. We can spend money on senior citizens 60 years and older. Hello. We can spend money on governmental association membership dues. We can spend money on government employees' training and education. And we can spend money on mileage reimbursements for employees when they're on township business. And there are more, but those are the main ones that come up most often. Questions about those? Some of the projects that I've been tasked with since I've been here, I just wanted to give quick updates on. The one thing that was mentioned in 2 of my interviews is moving to an electronic purchase order system. And I am working on that, but what I'm working on first before I can implement that is coming up with an organizational chart. And that's been kind of difficult. So as soon as I get that on paper and get that board approved, then I can move forward with the purchase orders, electronic purchase orders, because I need to know that workflow for the approval levels. Accounts payable workflow review changes to allow AP warrants to be electronically delivered to trustees a day earlier, allowing you time to review those more than 15 minutes before a meeting. I think that we may be getting better at that. I set June 1st actually as a deadline to have that happen, but I think you may have gotten those a little bit earlier than usual. I mean, no? Okay, well, June 1st, that's my deadline, and I will look deeper into that to make sure you're getting those. The UKG time and attendance that Clerk Laporte is in charge of, I've been sitting in on those meetings when I'm available because I have experience with UKG implementation and thought if I could offer any help or anything like that during that implementation, because it's really complex in the data gathering, the discovery period before they basically write our software for us. And I've been trying to offer assistance to the Parks and Rec Committee with finance-related activity. I'm just trying to help make the finance transactions run smooth and make sure everybody gets their reimbursements and things like that. In the future, my financial reports will also include quarterly budget to actual numbers the month after each quarter end. So our quarter end, first quarter end is June 30th, so in July, I'll have a budget to actual report for you as of June 30th. And one thing I want to clarify, if I may, that came up earlier with the donation letter. The intent of that letter was actually for the township to fill that out and send it out as a thank you after that donation comes in. As Treasurer Patterson alluded to, we're working on getting envelopes printed up that will have the check boxes as to where someone wants their donation to be focused. And then we'll keep track of that and make sure those donations get where they need to be. Any questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
If I may.
Oh, Tom.
Hey, thanks for the report. That's a pretty good report.
Yeah.
Most of the things we knew we couldn't spend money on, even
Okay.
though some
Well,
people sometimes.
they've come up, so I just wanted to.
Sometimes people, they forget, right?
Yeah.
We can't, when somebody retires, we can't have a big party for them, right?
Well, you can,
At public
as
expense.
long
At
as
a
it
pub-
doesn't go through the.
As long as the whole public's
township
invited, right?
Accounts, right?
No.
Or that.
Yeah, that. But no, it was a nice job. I like the idea of having the actuals at the, a month
The
post.
budget to actual reports?
Yeah,
those-
that'd be
those will
nice to
really
share with the
helpful
public.
to make sure we're on track.
And thank you very much for working very hard on payroll today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, nice job.
Nice job on it, especially on short notice.
It's gonna be fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the finance report.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Water, water and sewer report.
Mr. Tabor.
Good afternoon, Board. Mr. Bowman, sir.
Good afternoon.
Again, this is my first report, so, just a couple updates I'd like to say about DPW and the Water and Sewer Department. Our spring cleanup at the cemetery and parks is going well. Now your DPW employees are staying on top of the grass and mowing demands of the township, parks, and campus. We will be scheduling pavilion and picnic table maintenance at both parks in the following weeks. That's in the DPW. Water, we have replaced 3 hydrants in the water supply system over the winter. They were damaged by vehicle accidents. We started our flushing program of all of our dead ends to maintain water quality and prevent issues like sediment buildup in these areas. Lead and copper testing, we're gonna start that in July. We're always looking for anybody willing to get the water some sampling done on their house if it was built before 1988. We're always looking for new sampling sites. Just get hold of us at the DPW and we'll take care of you. Right. And sewer, all of our sewer lift stations are fully operational with no issues. Kennedy Pump and Valve will be coming out at the end of the month to complete their annual pump maintenance to ensure that they stay that way. Excuse me, but the revenue and cash flow, Bart, I don't know if that's something you're gonna do?
I can, unless you'd like to cover it. I can just mention a brief bullet point in mine if you like. So.
If you could do that, and we'll do better next time.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, basically, all I was gonna mention at this time was that we had an aged accounts receivable decrease about another 7,300 for the last month. So our accounts receivable is going down, so it's going in the right direction. That's all on that.
Do you have any questions for me as far as report?
If I can have a follow. Yes, Ron, Mr. Tabor.
Yes, sir.
On the hydrants, I'm assuming that you're with DPD and looking at how we can recover money on those, because I know those
Yep.
happened over the winter. I don't know if they're skids off the road and nobody knew it.
Absolutely.
We just ended up seeing the water or,
All 3 had insurance
Yeah, I'd like to
claims.
see us review that process to make sure we're capturing some of that on.
Yes, sir.
hydrants, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All 3 of them had incident reports, and accident reports, insurance claims.
Yep.
But we will definitely make sure that that continues.
Yep. Is there, just as a follow-up, is there an issue with, how long it takes to get those repaired? Obviously, the filing the claims and things. Is there
No,
deadlines?
we get out, we go, we went out and purchase all the equipment that needed, and we take care of it, all the parts and stuff, and we just get it repaired so it's up and as quick as possible for, fire use. And then we go after the money.
All right.
That's how we do it as of right now.
On the hydrants, I'll just touch briefly on that. You said you're flushing all the deadheads?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have a painting schedule for all the hydrants?
Actually, we talked about it, and right now I'm a little shorthanded, but we are gonna address that. We'll probably start in the more visual areas, the areas that are gonna be.
So there's a couple things you want to put on your calendar
Yes, sir.
then, is a painting schedule for the hydrants and probably trimming around them
Yep.
for weeds. And then also put on your schedule before June 6th, you could do some park maintenance
Yes,
over at
sir.
Benody Park for the upcoming fishing derby to make sure that everything looks good over there for guests from outside and for the community.
Absolutely.
That we don't have any like split rail fence laying down or damaged picnic tables are taken care of and so forth. And then lastly, I would like to thank you and the employees over at the building or DPW department for painting the building department office in there. It looks really nice. If anybody that's come into the township offices very much will understand there's a big change in the building department recently. We reallocated a bunch of filing cabinets safely across the street for old documentation, getting things cleaned up, putting things in their place, looking a bit more better. Thank you very much for getting that done. That's all I have, Chair.
Okay, then. On this fishing tournament thing, I mean, the mosquitoes are gonna be like crazy out there. Do we spray for
Off.
it?
Supply
Off.
cans.
You
You're
know,
on your
off
own.
is awesome out there.
You're on your own, just
You're
bring
on
some
your
off.
own. Okay.
Did you say something, JC?
I was just saying off is usually fine out there, because that's what I use.
That's
when
like
I
steak
fish.
sauce, though. You just bring it on in.
Mosquitoes don't like it either.
I know, I did put an email into the county, the Wayne County Commissioner's Office, as long as Wayne County Executive, to ask that they grade the roads before the upcoming fishing derby, so everybody has, which they should be done, I get it, but just a quick reminder that they get the roads graded in and out of the park, minimum.
Yes. I was out at the
You
parks.
can always
today.
ask, if you don't ask, you don't receive.
I was out at the parks today, and everything's drying up good. We've been keeping the ditch open. We cleaned it out again today, but it's definitely draining better. It's all drying up out there, the grasses. So hopefully mosquitoes will be a little bit less. And we are having the trash company come out and make sure that they are emptying the dumpsters and stuff before the event on the 7th.
Any more?
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the water and sewer report.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Mr. Burdick.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Board, and thank you, attendees, for stopping in and seeing what we're up to. First and foremost, ARPA obligations in process. Midwest, that's the fire department parking. They do have cracks and patching done there. They've resealed those, and at last knowledge, they had a couple of more spots to hit, and then they were going to stripe as currently laid out, and they'll be good until they come in, or whomever, to seal the whole campus in 2026. Ventura Playscape. I'm sure the good treasurer knows as much as anybody of what's going on down there, but that playscape is under construction. It is in progress. They are sectionally putting up features and independence and creating the grounds. Township projects, the RTU HVAC system, both of them are installed, operational. Our friends at Dynamic will be stopping out at the beginning of summer, ensure the AC functions are running well, and also back out here in the fall so we can make sure heat is operating properly. So far, it's doing great. It's doing very well. Big thanks to 734 Maintenance and our DPW staff for getting Martinsville up and ready to go on that dedication that was conducted. Most of us know the weather two weeks prior, and it was soupy and wet at best, and even on that day had still been raining. I think they did a great job, frankly. So Ron, please pass that on, and I'll pass on to 734 Maintenance. We have with us this evening our new township manager, Mr. Ken Martin. Ken, welcome. Welcome. You also have with you your new township advisor. Be kind, be gentle. Thank you, thank you. First reports, thank you, Julie. Thank you, Ron. A good first presentation. I want to also say Julie Campbell and Carrie Ford, helping to backstop a little bit, did a great job in filling in the blanks for pay that ended cycle on Sunday. And they started running at it hard, and all indications are it looks pretty good. So thank you, guys. Also, if I may, this is my final TM report. So I want to thank the board for your trust, your guidance, your acceptance. I want to truly thank my directors who have done everything they could to affectionately make my life miserable. But it was a long, great journey, so thank you. On that note, and my final note is your township manager, always affectionately so, but I want to call Chief Luke up here, if I may. Bring your hardware, Chief. Chief Luke had the honor, I now refer to him as Chief Overachiever. He had the honor to be awarded as the Administrator of the Year by Poem, and frankly, I saw Augie in the picture, so I'm going to tell you, Command was deep in the mix too. Now, I don't know if in our world it truly is an honor to be recognized by one of our collective bargaining units, who every 4 years have worked to make mine and Sir Young's a living Hades. However, I'm going to say, well done. So, thank you.
Well, for those who know me know that I've had my fill of myself over the past week. I've heard enough about myself, and it's not a comfortable place to be for me. So I do appreciate POM. They let me know about a month ago that they were bestowing this honor upon me at their conference in Grand Rapids. It was a nice conference. I was able to share the stage with 27 officers of the year, which were involved in some heroic acts of police work over the past year. So that was an honor. But like I said, I've heard enough about myself. Now I can go back and just be in the shadows, hopefully, and talk about somebody else. But it is a nice desktop award. They did a good job with their conference. So I appreciate everybody's everything, the nice words everybody said about me out there, and now we can just move along.
I don't know if we can move on yet, Chair. I'd like to make sure we get a picture with Chief for his award. with the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you'd come on down, Chief, and we come down.
Why don't we just stand behind the table with the chief out in front, maybe?
Yeah.
I like being down.
I think we should all hold Chief up over our head.
Thank you, Trustee Oddie. I appreciate that.
Oh, you got it? Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Everybody smile.
All right, Chief, get off my floor. And my board, and you always will be. I know there's been some questions about that, but you are all mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
This is my final TM, and that is my report. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Chair. Chair, if I may.
Encore.
Chair, if I may, before we vote.
Pardon, go ahead.
Yeah, Tony, being in my 4th term, I've known you for a long time, way back in your days in the clerk's office as deputy. You've always been a friend. You've always been a hard worker. You've always been dedicated. God bless you, my friend. If you need anything, give me a holler. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Tim. That goes for me too, Tony.
I'll make a motion to approve the township manager's report.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, are you gonna receive and file yours, or?
Yeah, Board, I've got nothing to add to the report that's already been submitted on the agenda, so.
So
Motion to receive and file, Treasurer.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, board response.
Planning zoning.
Planning and zoning. body.
Chair, I'd ask that we receive and file 2 of the items from the planning commission are on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to new business.
Board response.
Pardon me?
Board response.
Board response.
board response.
I've got one, Tim.
I do too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, at the last meeting, I misspoke on the date of the Conference of Western Wayne. It will be June 13th, 9:30 a.m. it starts. Again, hopefully all board members can attend, township managers and employees. Meetings typically are about an hour and a half. It's the last one of the year for the summer break for the conference, and it's usually pretty big. You'll see legislators from state and federal here. All the supervisors and mayors from the 18 communities the conference represents. And it's just information packed, especially the legislative update. And hopefully everybody can attend. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Tim.
Mr. Bowman, I got one or two, if I could, Chair. It's gonna give you some kudos. So, I'd like to say, so publicly too, there's a lot of things that go on behind the, public's eye that are not known. So I had an agenda item here tonight, because everybody knows, we have a playscape going in. And, so the old playscape, dilapidated, fallen down, needs to be gotten rid of. So I was gonna be adding an agenda item to the agenda, which could cost, pulling foundations and, disposals and all that could be in excess of around $7,800 or so. Mr. Bowman volunteered his time and his services and equipment to come over here and do that, so we might be able to get some volunteers to help and reduce that cost, maybe down to where it only costs the township, maybe $700, $800, $900 for dumpsters and dirt and stuff like that. So thank you, Mr. Bowman. I appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Tim.
You're welcome.
Chair?
Yeah.
If I could add on to our board response, I wanted to say thank you to you for the Memorial Day honoring that we did at the Tri-Community Ceremony. It was, sombering to, hear the stories. We were well represented, and thank you again for placing the wreath and representing Sumpter.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Okay,
New business.
we'll move on to new business. On agenda item F, I'd like to, when we get to this agenda item, I'd like to have a discussion before we decide anything, okay?
Chair, just as a reminder, the procedure is you get a motion and a second, then discussion.
Okay, yeah, well, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I just,
Yeah, understood. Before we get to a vote, right?
yeah, okay. All right, we'll go to new business. Consider approval of CWA Building Department Phase 1 updates.
So we'll
Support.
You want to talk about it?
Yes, I'd like to talk about
All right, I've got Carla Workman here. She's also, we have a new flow chart I asked her to make up to put outside the building department.
I'm doing what I do best.
Here's my banner.
So when a resident comes in and wants to pull a new permit, the question is what happens? Where does it go from here? So they'll be able to look at this flow chart and see the process and how it flows through the approval chain. Or, the different, a lot of people think just one person stamps it approved back there and then you move on, right? No, it's actually a lot more complex than that. So this is gonna help some people, some homeowners or residents that decide they wanna build their own garage, remodel their kitchen, whatever it might be. It'll help them understand the path that they have to go to get it done. And it's a pretty good visual aid, I think, that they've made up. I sent this all to the board to look at. I'd like to get it posted outside the building department, as long as everyone feels it's pretty accurate.
Chair, if I may too, I think what we need to do is add into the language, consider approval of CWA Building Department Phase 1 updates, which includes new revised building permits. So that's part of it, so And I think which we have those attached to as well, so if we could maybe add that language.
To the motion.
Motion to add the language there?
Sure. In follow-up with Don, yeah, I think this has been a long time coming, because there's certain things, which are right on this one here, which we still have to adjust, is like a point of sale inspection. You know, most people don't know what that means, but that's how our ordinance states it. That's actually a resale inspection.
Yes.
And so as part of this is, you know, puts it on point for the residents so they know what they're looking at. But, you know, these are things that we need to look at updating in the future, you know, getting it so, you know, people know a resale inspection, you know, what it is and where to find it in the ordinance and things like that. So
Yes.
these are long overdue.
Well, currently, it is listed as what you have in your current ordinance.
Understood, that's what I said.
But under phase two,
Yes.
that's when we'll do all of the adjustments.
Right, yeah, I understand that. That's why you have it worded this way, because
Yes.
it matches our ordinance. We need to update our ordinance in phase two so that people,
Yes.
when they search for it, they're looking for resale, they're looking for common term, not point of sale type of language, so. Thank you.
Yes.
So CW is here tonight to talk about the actual changes and updates in the applications.
So what we've decided, as coming in and going through everything, we're implementing like all the revisions to the applications, making them more user-friendly. The old ones were a little bit clustered and a little bit harder to read and understand, so revising them, freshening them up, making it a little easier for anybody, not just contractors, to come in, look at them and understand what they're doing, and so they're able to fill them out correctly. So that's what we're doing with those. And then we're also doing a bunch of template letters through BS&A. So when we do the inspections, we're able to send a letter out to residents or the contractors, letting them know if they've passed, if they've failed, because right now that process wasn't happening. So it's to complete it in full, so they actually know everything that's happening. We're also, yes?
So that, when the inspectors do a plumbing, building, roof, whatever, they'll still leave that sticker, right?
Yes, they're gonna get
And
their
then afterwards,
pass or
you'll send a
fail.
letter out confirming that?
Well, they'll get the pass or fail inspection. It's more so if it's a failed inspection, so they'll get a letter stating what it is that they failed on, so they know what corrections that need to be made, because obviously that doesn't fit in that little sticker, so.
Okay.
And then we're updating the BS&A system, so therefore, there's some changes that need to be updated throughout the system. There are some things that were in there that just need to be corrected, to put it that way. And then we also need to discuss expired permits. So you guys, as the board, needs to let me know how far back we want to go with them, for whether we're going to close them out, or are we going to go after everybody for them and actually, that's like your decision.
Well, I mean, I think it's not unreasonable to look back 6 months to a year to say, are you still building, right? Beyond a year, I think it's unreasonable to say, hey, 5 years ago, you pulled a permit, where are you at with it now?
Right.
I mean, I don't think that'd be very proper.
But I need an agreement from the entire board before I could close things out.
Sure, but I mean, there are some, I mean, I drive down Sumpter Road and others where you can see where they probably pulled building permits and they're still in the midst of building and it's unfinished. So I don't know if that's a clear answer, just anything beyond a year, just to let it go. But we need to follow maybe with our ordinance or whatever on those, but I'm not sure what the answer is. I don't know if we can really have that discussion and make a decision now.
According to your ordinance, if there isn't work being done within 6 months, the permits, if they're expired, they have to pull a new permit. So it is considered closed at that point.
Got it.
Closed out. If they're actively working, the permit stays open. But if there's no inspections or no active work, so at that point, it's your decision at the board whether we close them out or we revise the ordinance.
Okay, and that just goes then underneath basically our ordinance department to maybe file citation, whatever, if there's like, say that somebody just built a structure and it's a plywood roof and it's not done, it's just open to the weather and it's rotting on a house and it's just becoming an eyesore, where does that fall then? If we've said like, you no longer, it's an inactive building permit, how do we follow up as a township on that then?
At that point, when we revise any of the ordinances, that's when we would have to put, with those revisions, that we could issue the citations, and that's when you would eventually have to also with the dangerous buildings
Got
or go that route.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The suggestion, 6 months is really too short in a year, it's not more better.
Not open to public comment right now. I'll make an motion to approve agenda item A.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, nays? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Put that on that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
You're
you're
gonna-
just sitting, that's a work session issue that you guys gotta work out,
Right.
not here.
Okay, we'll move on. B, consider approval to go out for sealed bids to apply commercial epoxy floor coating in the fire department bays and gear room as described in the public safety budget proposal.
So moved.
Support.
I have discussion, a question if I could share.
Yeah.
So on this, we're approving to go out to post for public bid, but I said, do we have a prepared posting to request for bid? All I see is an estimate from a contractor. We don't really have, if we approve, I don't have a problem approving. Well, we discussed this as a board too, that we have a language to approve for posting so that we know exactly what we're asking for.
A bid package.
A bid package, right. I mean, we've discussed this, I remember in the last couple of years, 4 or 5 times, so we're yet doing the same thing again. I don't mind we need to get it done, but I think we have a process that we need to stick with too as well, just for comment.
Well, I mean, we could add to the
That's that to the
motion that, you know, to approve going out for the proposal with the bid package being approved by the board before it's advertised.
Yeah, I'll modify my motion to that.
All right. You want to support it?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. C, consider approval of resolution 2025-2, poverty exemption. Can somebody explain that poverty exemptions?
This is
This is
Chair's
your agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it, and we can get a
Support.
second, and then we can ask for some clarification if you have questions, but my understanding, this is just standard legal document from the county that explains to us what the exemptions are for poverty.
This is done every year.
Yep.
Exactly. you know,
It is.
so it's a
Jen
procedural
from-
aspect that's done every
Yeah.
year at the request of the county.
Yep.
So we have a motion.
Thank you.
and support.
Jen with WCA is here if there are any questions, but it is basically an annual administrative function. Jen, please.
Good evening, Board. So yes, as stated, every year we are required to approve the resolution for poverty guidelines. Essentially, what it is residents who meet certain qualifications and file the necessary paperwork can qualify for a 50% reduction in their property taxes. The state of Michigan it's actually not requested, it's by law that the community comes up with a asset test and a income test. So every year we ask for approval of it. It has not, the only thing that changed for the upcoming poverty exemption is that the state of Michigan, through our audit that we receive every 5 years, has requested that we remove the language that if someone has a secondary property, they are usually automatically disqualified. But the state has requested that communities remove that requirement as they are making some changes with guidance for the poverty exemption. So that is the only change that we are presenting to the board, is to remove that specific language as requested by the state of Michigan.
So we have a motion
Yeah,
and
second.
support.
Yep.
Call it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. D, consider approval of the planning commission recommendation text amendments to section 5.3, 5.13, single-family dwellings, manufactured housing, prefabricated housing. Somebody explain that to me?
I'll make a motion to approve it. If we get a second, then we can go into it.
Support.
This is a recommendation coming from our planner that came to the planning commission regarding, specifically, it was a modular home that came to us that had a 512 pitch, and our ordinance had a minimum of a 612. The township, I think maybe 8 years ago, went from a 412 to a 612. And looking at the research that was done, most of the modulars that are coming through that are ranch style are 512 unless you pay for a bigger pitch. The 2 stories are coming in at 612. So the state recommends, I think, we'll have a minimum of a 312.
412.
Is it 412? I thought it was a 312 that he brought to us. But
Well, for a mod, in a trailer park,
Yeah.
but not once you come out of the
Yeah.
park with it.
And so the planning commission reviewed that, through the recommendation of the planner that, a 512 was reasonable for a pitch on a roof, so.
For any new built, or stick built and modular, or
Yeah.
just any home?
Single-family
Any
dwellings,
single-family
manufactured
housing.
housing, free family.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was the recommendation that the planning commission made to the board for the board to consider.
Agreed. We have a motion and support?
Hmm? Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay. E, consider approval of planning commission's recommendations, approval of special land use for the auto repair and collision at parcel 181-022-990001-701 at 50637 Bemis Road.
So moved.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay. F, I want to read this, but I want to have a discussion before we,
We have to have a motion and support before discussion.
okay, so, do I have a motion?
Well, you need to read it first.
Consider approval of planning commission recommended to deny the proposed rezoning of 24235 Sumpter Road.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion, yeah, that's what I want to have, is discussion. Okay, so we've had residents show up here tonight, that are for Sam's project there on Sumpter Road. I know, the planning commission, decided to deny this project. I think, I'm for the project. I think why would we deny a business like that? I mean, he plans on building a good-looking building there. You go down Sumpter Road now and look around. There's not very many good-looking buildings in that part of the neighborhood. He plans on putting I'd say a beautiful building there. Everything's gonna be blocked from the road. Everything will be out of sight, out of mind. And along with that, I'm tired of going to Belleville or going up on Belleville Road and getting robbed for changing a tire. They wanna charge you $23 to change a tire, and you have to make an appointment for it. To go get my truck detailed, I have to either go to Wayne, Ypsilanti, or Ann Arbor to get my truck detailed. It goes on and on and on. I don't see why they don't want that business there. I just can't, Sam has jumped through the loops. He's done all the things. He's not one of these companies that we've been dealing with in the past that has just moved in, not registered their businesses, refused to cooperate with the township. And I think we should give it a second thought.
Chair, if I may. Couple of my concerns, maybe we can get the township attorney to chime in on it. One, typically, as long as I've been on the board, we've never turned down a recommendation from the planner and the planning commission. Two, we've been down this road before, Rob, you're very aware of this, of spot zoning. Once we do that and set a precedent,
So they must have said-
wait
Tim.
a minute, I'm not done, I have the floor.
Okay.
Once we set that precedent, all previous denials and any future applications, it might come back to haunt us, I don't know. Rob, could you weigh in on that?
Well, planning commissions are dealt with these kind of issues all the time, and it's not a personal matter. It's their job is not to pick winners and losers, like whether the Christian should live or die in the Coliseum. The question is, based upon the zoning ordinance that's been approved by the township, whether or not the proposed zoning comports with that which has been approved and been utilized by the planning commission and the township board for quite some time. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't come back and ask for a rezoning, which also happens all the time. And the question is you look at future plan use, the existing ordinance, future plan use, and see what the direction of the township or the city or whoever it is that you're looking at has been approved again by the planning commission and the township board, and you try to make decisions based upon that. The concern that you have, that you're raising, Mr. Rush, is something that is argued about all the time, not only before planning commissions, not only before township or city councils, but it's also argued in the courts. And that is that if you start down the road of spot zoning, and I'm not saying this is or isn't, but I'm saying if you start down the road of spot zoning, effectively what you've done is you've neutered your zoning ordinance, your future plan use, and people in the community, when they come in, have a right to rely on what it is that the zoning ordinances and the future land use provides. For example, if you want to build a home in the township, you can look at the zoning ordinances and decide and see what is going to be around that particular area when you make that decision. So those are the issues that you take into consideration. I'm hearing comments by the supervisor and others that this is a development that may be needed. I don't think anybody is saying that you can't do this. I think the question becomes is where do you do this? And that's really what the struggle is. And so you're going to have to deal with that, and the decision is whether or not this is appropriate to, when you take into consideration the planning, the zoning ordinances, and what's incorporated in this particular development. And you have to make a judgment call on that, and you have to look at this in terms of whether or not this is consistent with the surrounding community, consistent with the future plan use, and does not somehow negatively impact the surrounding community. And that's a factual judgment call that the township board has to approve. Now, the motion was to concur with the planning commission's recommendation, and I just want you to understand that a vote yes means that you're agreeing that it's denied. A vote no means that you're disagreeing with the planning commission. If the township board decides not to concur with the planning commission, then it's going to take another motion to determine whether or not you should supersede the planning commission and in essence approve that which is before you. So that's kind of how it's all laid out.
Well, I'd like to make that motion now.
Oh, yeah, we're not done with discussion. And let me follow up. I thought I still had the floor, Tim. Just give me a couple more seconds. So, Rob, what you're saying is the board can do whatever we want. We can deny the planning commission, but everything you just said, to me, it smells like future litigation, us winding up in court down the road.
Well, I'm not saying it will, I'm just saying we've had
the potential is there.
I just want to, follow up on what Rob said. about the planner because, and tell you what the planner actually, conveyed at the meeting. The planner conveyed exactly what Rob said, that, our future master plan shows that as being residential. And as people come into the township, they look to that master plan to say, where do I want to put something, right? And you wouldn't expect to look at something that has the master plan showing residential and buy the property and build a house and then end up with a commercial business next to you. We went through this down the street on the commercial property that the township had. It was zoned commercial, but it was in a residential neighborhood, and nobody wanted a commercial building or a commercial development on commercial property because it was surrounded by residential. We do have a lot of commercial property in our main district. I consider that, between Bemis and Willis and that area, that is inundated with residential in that area. For me, with the planner explaining, the potential for spot zoning and also our master plan and what we have set out to be residential areas, I don't know if we want to create another commercial residential area. We have those areas now that kind of give us a little bit of grief because, people want to put in a business or they have a loud business and we have residential surrounding it. This would be would be creating another commercial area right in the middle of residential, which we have a lot of it, in the community. But that was where the planner came from. He was looking at our current plan, our current area, what we have set aside as a township for 20 years down the road for the master plan as to, that's going to be a residential area, and his recommendations were based on that premise.
I understand what you're saying, Matt, but if you look back at the corner of Arcona, across from the park down here, what's across the street from that? What's on either side of that? Residential homes. There's a building that's been sitting there, the plumbing building, that's been sitting there as long as we can remember. Quite frankly, looks like crap, okay? We've done nothing about that. We've not asked the people to update it, to paint it. It's an eyesore. You look at the corner of Oakville Waltz. We permit a resident to live in a commercial building. Why doesn't the Planning Commission pursue something like that? You look at Willis Road, basically the only property there available to have a service center or something where people could get their car fixed, their tire changed. We let a resident live in that building. Why doesn't the Planning Commission look at stuff like that? There's only so much property on Sumpter Road that's buildable. When you talk about between Bemis and Willis Road, where is there property to build on? That's not gonna cost you an arm and a leg. The only available property that I know of, I could be wrong, commercial, is past the restaurant there, McShane's, or whatever it is, that I've asked about in the past, some lawyer owns it in some faraway land. It's not for sale. The property, I think that Don's wife purchased from the township, that's commercial, right? I just don't see the point. And you go to Belleville, and, whether spot zoning is good or bad, who's to say? But you go to Belleville, you go one lot here, this is residential. The next lot is commercial, okay? It's spot zoned all the way from Hall Road to I-94, for businesses that have come in, and, you look at what they used to call it, the old store right across from Belleville, Trailer Park. Okay, what's on the south side of that? Residential homes. What's on the north side of that? Residential homes. What's across the street from that? A mall. I mean, I just don't get the point. Sumpter Township needs businesses like that. I'm for it. Bart?
Chair, I got a question. I don't believe, Supervisor, were you at the planning commission when this was discussed?
No, I wasn't.
I was there, and I know we've got residents here in support of Sammy, and I've known Sammy for decades, like, calls me cousin, it's like, love the guy. So, but in specific to this, we did have quite a few residents there that were opposed to this specific property with the zoning. Just my take on it from being there and looking at it, like number one, we've got, what you're proposing is you're telling us to go against a master plan that this board has approved. You're suggesting that the board go against an ordinance.
This board has approved, or the board?
That this board has approved, our master plan. And our ordinances that this board has approved, and our planner that this board has hired, and the planning commission to which you, as a supervisor, appointed a lot of these. Some are here tonight. You appointed these people. I've been on planning commission, others. So it's a big position to be on a planning commission, and we have a planning commission's recommendation to support our master plan, our ordinance, our planner's recommendation. That's what's on the table tonight.
Chair, if I may, I'm in total support of building down there. I mean, realistically, if you drive down Sumpter Road in that area, it's not heavily populated. You're not talking about a bunch of residential houses. I mean, I can understand between Willis and Bemis. There's a bunch of housing there. There's not a bunch of housing down that part of Sumpter.
There's a house right next door to the property.
One, okay, but you're not talking about a neighborhood.
There's a new building across from it, more than one.
It's board discussion right now.
So, if you look at what's been done down there in the last 15 years, what change has happened? Nothing. Okay, would we have the same argument if somebody said, hey, let's throw up a little Maymart?
Yeah.
Residents be upset about that?
Right.
I don't, you can always have a couple residents that are gonna be upset, okay? But obviously, we also got residents that are in support of it. I would fully support it. I mean, we need change, and you guys talk about master plan. Last I heard, our master plan wasn't even up to date. When we did our township manager interviews, we were talking about having to redo that because it was expired.
Not expired.
No.
Kind of my point, Sumpter Road is Sumpter Road. That's the main vein through Sumpter Township. I mean, one of these days, this is gonna happen. Somebody's gonna come out here and wanna commercially develop this property. I can see if we were back off in the neighborhoods of, Carr Road, Elwell Road, or, Clay Road, down Clay Road somewhere, in the middle of a residential area. But this is the main road that goes through our township, okay? And as I pointed out earlier, we have to go give our money to the other communities. There's no restaurants per se in this township other than a bar. If you're a religious person or something, you have no place to go to eat. You got to go to another community where they don't serve alcohol. You got the Red Rooster, you got the McShane's there, to go sit down and eat. It's gotta change sometimes,
Sure. I think there might be some miscommunication on what's actually going up. Is this a repair facility?
No, it is not a repair facility. It's not gonna be a junkyard. From what Sam tells me, it's gonna be a detail shop, correct, Sam? Okay.
Well, before we get to Sam, you can say, well, if the chair lets you. The reason I say there might be confusion because I haven't heard anything but tire repair and car repair, but the application was for a used car lot. And that's, I've got the application. I'm just saying, the application is for a used car lot. It's not for a detail shop. Detail shop is part of it, but when we did the planning review, it was supposed to be a 3-bay repair shop, but the application is a used car lot. So we need to understand what we're approving here, because I'm not sure if it's clear, because I haven't heard anybody say anything about used cars. It's been get my tire fixed or get a car fixed. It hasn't been a used car lot. You said it was gonna be off the road and not showing. I don't know how a used car lot is it
Well,
directly up
I
on the
meant,
road.
if the cars that, if you're gonna work, a repair facility, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, I used to own a car lot here at the corner of Sumpter and Willis, okay? If you're working on your own cars, I don't call that that's not a repair shop, correct?
Well,
That wouldn't
I
classify.
think that's the,
If you check with the state of Michigan, I think that's a whole different licensing.
you still has to be a facility, but what I'm saying is that, like you said, is this a repair shop? Because that's all I've heard is repair shop stuff. I haven't heard used car lot.
Jim?
Chair, if I may, any used car dealership, any new car dealership at that point, they have somewhere to service their own vehicles. They have a detail bay that they can wash their vehicles in. They gotta keep their vehicles clean. I mean, I'm not gonna go to a used car lot and look at a car that's covered in 3 inches of dust. So he needs to be able to have a detail shop. Tires, yeah, absolutely, his oil changes.
Really, I guess you could call it repair when you get a flat tire, but, to fix a tire, I wouldn't classify that as a repair shop,
Well, maybe we should ask Sam, because that's what I said, it seems like there's some miscommunication, because at the planning commission, it was stated a 3-bay repair facility. So-
What came before the planning, you sit on the planning commission?
It says used car lot and tire detail, but there hasn't been any discussion of a used car lot there. It's all repair, as you've heard so far. So maybe we should ask Sammy exactly what he's asking for, so that we can clarify.
What is it, Sam?
Can I speak now?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank the board, first of all, for taking the time and reconsidering my plan to the Sumpter Township that the people needed more than any township in the state of Michigan. Because there is no tire shop in Sumpter Township. There is no detail shop in Sumpter Township. Everybody want to fix their tires, they got to drive to I-94 and Boardroom. What I'm here before the board, asking you a privilege to have a shop, nice, state-of-the-art, with a nice display window, and a detail shop, I will answer Mr. Ali. Detail shop, a tire shop with a small number display, good condition vehicle, not wrecked vehicle. Basically, turn-in lease, Manheim vehicle, ready for sale, not to be worked on. No junkyard, no repair facility, no moving engine, no moving transmission, not putting any of that picture in the front. In that plot.
So no repairs of vehicles.
And if I may add, to Mr. Patterson, which is my friend, that's true, one of the neighbor came. And that neighbor, do you know that neighbor? He running a business out of his shop. He don't want me there to see what he's doing in his property. He has a 5 semi-truck hollow water tank every day. He don't want me to in that property. He said, you cannot hunt on your property. I got blind spot. I'm going to fight you on the township. That's the person who came against me for that property.
There were others, Sammy.
There is a couple people, ma'am, you live down the street, you don't live next to that property. When you get a chance to come out-
Point of order. Sam.
Right now.
I don't have to-
Please address the
Okay,
board.
I don't want to hear no arguing.
Chair, can I ask a question? The people that came in here tonight that are actually having you do, that they're praising you for what you did for them, do they live right there? Do they live right? No, that ain't what I asked.
Yes,
So the people that showed up to complain at the planning commission are people that live in that right there. The people that hang on, let me talk.
Let them speak.
The people you brought in here tonight to support you are people that you did work for, not the people that actually have to have your building sitting in their neighborhood. That's what I'm getting at, because you got people in here to support you because you're a good man, and I know that. But the people that were anti this were people that are living right there. Now, you can say the man that doesn't want you, but he lives there. He lives there. He lives, so I'm gonna have to say it this way. You bring it down to my area, I'm gonna be against it too, because if it's not supposed to be in the area, it shouldn't be in the area. Because once it's there, and you got no choice once it's there. And that's how I look at it. And And then I got this question, what is the other business supposed to be down there? I thought that was supposed to be used cars down there on the other side of Willow Road. But you look behind that building, and there is nothing but junk cars in behind that building right now. And it's an eyesore. If that was to even half of that happened at that, it would be unacceptable. I'm just saying, that's where you were supposed to have been, and now there's junk all behind that building. I mean, tons of it.
Is everything gonna go through the planning commission? Everything gonna be up to the ordinance
Doesn't matter if
to see what's going on. I'm not the one who set the rules in this Sumpter Township.
I know, but here's what goes on. Things get approved in one manner, and the next thing you know, other stuff is going on, like all that junk down there, like the man over there with the used car lot over there at Willis
If I
Road.
may answer you, the person who came and answered in that plan, that's the only one neighbor was next to me. There is none of the neighbors. Only Michael Potaski sent a letter. That's the only two people live in that area. And the rest of the people who came here, this is not people I serve. This is people of Sumpter Township. They've been here for 40 years, and they know what this township needs.
But one more time, they don't live right there, is what I'm saying. So what about the people that came to the commission? I was not here.
Yeah,
Can I ask that?
there's a list of their addresses, and it was most of the people that live around there. You had Zeola Walker, her daughter, and other people there. But I guess I want to clarify, I know you said that it's not your property down at the other end, but you applied for the special land use, right, to have a used auto lot there, right? Sammy's Auto Sales?
No, some property, Belleville property, the Sumpter property.
Right, but the property
I put
name
the-
is Sammy Auto Sales?
I put the dealership because it's under my name in the state of Michigan,
Yeah.
like having a liquor license.
Yeah.
You gotta carry that with you.
Sure. So, but you're gonna have a used car lot down there, because you've got your dealership down there.
There's two different things. There is B and C. Mr. Bowman been in that situation, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. When you buy a car, which is no accident, turn lease, Manheim, which is, they call it green light, no issue with the car. This is ready for display. This is what I'm applying for. There is so many classic form in the state of Michigan, according to your dealership, what you can have.
Right.
If I don't have a repair facility, I cannot have a junkyard or wrecked cars.
So this is gonna be what dealer?
Basically clean, ready, display cars with a detail shop and a fine shop. And a display window, big window coming out, and a state-of-the-art building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Chair, back to you.
Chair, if I may. Lastly, too, I mean, Mr. Sammy acknowledged in the answer about the concern about the business there, and his response was, it obviously has to go by the planning commission. So again, too, we have a planning commission. Planning commission heard all sides, makes a recommendation to the board. That's where things are at now. We have a motion, we have a support for agenda item F.
And again, I just want to make sure you understand, a vote yes is to deny, a vote no is to disagree with the planning commission, just so everybody understands how the vote, what the vote means.
Okay? So we'll have a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Matt?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
Bart?
Yes.
Myself, no?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Motion denied.
Well, the
Motion's
motion
approved.
carried.
Carried.
What are we on, G?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on. G, consider approval to raise the starting pay of statutory employee position of deputy treasurer and deputy clerk from $3 to $5 above the 90-day union clerk rate effective 5/27/2025.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Chair, now yeah, go ahead now.
Before we vote, I just want to make it clear, I'll be abstaining from any vote on this agenda item.
Matt, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we're not gonna end up in the same position that we're currently in now. And that is ensuring that going forward, if we add to the motion going forward, that the increase would be the same increase as afforded to the union, per the union contract, or as determined by the board. We won't go forward in a negative ratio, and that's what's been happening. So the increases have been based on the union wage, which might be, for just reference, if it's $10 and it's 3%, that's a 30-cent raise. The deputies were making $20, let's say, and they were only given a 30-cent raise. They weren't given a full 3%. And so to ensure that, there's a minimum of 5, but going forward, the board should either, award them, what the union wages are, or what the board approves instead of that, to make sure that we don't go in a negative fashion again.
Sheriff, I may too as well, because we discussed before.
If I
Man, I gotta tell you, I usually understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, but today.
Let me say, hey, Bart, if I could say it again, since I got a confusion on the attorney here. We just want to make sure that the increase for the deputies is the same increase percentage-wise as the union, which we've traditionally used, unless the board awards a different percentage for those deputies going forward, other than what traditionally has been used under the union contract. Is that a little better, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, Bart.
We had a motion support, all voted yes. Anybody vote, like, I don't know where we're at, are we changing it now, or?
Well, we didn't vote.
We did vote.
We did vote.
No,
You
we
said all
stopped
those
it because Laporte went first and then I went.
Call the question again.
Okay.
Yeah, Laporte asked for the floor, he was given the floor, then I was given the floor before the vote, because he had to say he had to abstain from the vote.
I thought we voted and then
Sheriff, I
he's
may
talking.
too as well.
Yeah,
He can't abstain after the vote.
Sheriff,
so
I may.
we're gonna vote again.
Sheriff, I may.
Go ahead.
So just to clear up a little bit of this confusion, this is something that was done back in 2022, and yes, it's been eroding, so it's not been a percent, like, so if our union has been getting a 2% or 4%, a 2% and a 2%, that's not been equivalent to what the deputies have been getting. They've been getting a little bit less. Maybe you could say if it was a 2%, it was like a 1.87%. So they haven't been getting the same amount increase, it's just been the same dollar gap. Things that have been discussed with our township manager, with me at least for the last 2.5 years, is that we need to look at possibly the discussion of separating our deputies from ties to union raises, collective bargaining raises. So this is something, and that's just not a discussion that's gonna happen here at the board or anything like that. It's something that's gonna have to be discussed and ironed out over the next several months, if not year, or something to make sure that it's done properly and for future going forward. So all this is right now is just that increase of right now that is a $3 an hour increase. They probably only are, so I can't remember what I did the math on. It might not actually be percentage-wise, that it might be like, they might be in the negative about like 70, 80 cents that they've been missing out on over the last year or two. So this is just to get them caught back up and then look at future considerations. That's all this agenda item's for. And again, so this is based upon the 90-day, starting 90-day union clerk, that 90 days on the job, our deputies' statutory responsibilities are only getting $3 an hour more. Currently, I'm proposing in this agenda item to go to $5 an hour more right now.
It's from $3 to $5. So
It's not a range of 3 to 5, it's from $3 currently to $5. Does that make sense?
And what I asked for the motion to be altered to was to make sure that the percentage going forward that they get is the same as the union. It's not based on the union's wage. Whatever percentage is awarded to the union is awarded to the deputies, unless the board awards more or less to the deputies specifically. That way we don't run into this problem going forward.
I'll support that agenda change item if you like to, Matt, because again, I'm hoping that in the next year before the next wage negotiations, all that can happen, and hopefully we can get this ironed out, but,
Well, this
so
just
basically
ensures, in
what-
case it doesn't, this ensures that they
yeah,
don't lose.
so it'd be, in addition, it would be, what you're saying is then it'd be the same percentage increase.
Yeah, same percentage increase based on the deputy's wage, not based on the hourly wage of the hourly employee.
So, you have a
At
motion and
$5.
support?
I think he made the motion. I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. There we go. All right, moving on. H, request to amend the language in the township agreement between Sumpter Township and J.T. Grova regarding the towing services provided to the township.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. I, consider approval to contract with Johnson Sign Company to research, consult, and present rebranding concepts for the Sumpter Township brand logo at a cost not to exceed $3,500, and I have questions about that.
So moved.
Support. All right.
Comment?
We're gonna pay somebody $3,500 to suggest what our signs should look like?
No, to be clear, did you read the proposal that was submitted?
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is this is a logo, a sign company, a rebranding company. They've worked with the surrounding municipalities to rework their logos and their brand. It's for not only just, signs, but office wear, things of that nature. There's a process that it goes through. The board gets to ultimately decide, choose, and be a part of that. Tim would be coming, he could not make it tonight because of a family emergency, but he'll be coming to the next board meeting to discuss and present what the process is. But the board would be involved. We could maybe get consider getting a committee together to bring to, but there's gonna be a lot of different presentations made to the board of this is what it is and this is what we can do for the township.
So we're gonna change the logo as far as like country living at its finest?
No, this is like, they know that that's part of that's not the logo, country living at its finest. That's a phrase that we have.
Okay, so-
But the logo is the brand, is the picture of it.
It's all on the table.
Right.
It's all.
Yeah, it's all on
like
the table,
weeds
exactly.
and all
It could be
that.
anything, yeah.
Okay.
So, but they do this professionally, and I wish he was here to
So
make.
we
the
have
picture.
support and a motion? Motion and support?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
Thank you, board.
Announcements.
I got some. I'd like to make an announcement about the Kids Fishing Derby, June 7th at Benody Park, starting at 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. If you have wanted to volunteer for that, please stop over at the police department, make sure you get a background check, just so we can get that all tidied up and taken care of. Forgotten Harvest, well, the next one will be June 9th, 2025, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. or until all the food's been distributed. We did not have one last time because of the holiday. And that's all I have for announcements.
Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
No, you don't have to.